Cyberpunk 2077 was originally planned to receive multiple expansions, but after the game's difficult launch, those plans changed, leaving Phantom Liberty as the only DLC CD Projekt Red would release. Years later though, players are still uncovering hidden maps, unfinished locations, cut quests, abandoned characters, and even an entire moon environment buried inside the game files. Today we're separating confirmed evidence from speculation to uncover Cyberpunk's biggest cut content and whether any of it could still return. Before we explore the moon itself, it's worth understanding where this information comes from. None of it comes from inside leakers, instead it's been uncovered through publicly available data mining, exploring the game files to find content that never appears during normal gameplay. Over the years, those discoveries have revealed locations, quests, and environments that were clearly under construction before they were rewritten or abandoned. Unlike Phantom Liberty, which is organized under Episode 1, the moon content exists completely outside that structure. If it had already been planned as a second expansion, you'd expect it to follow the same name convention. Instead, its separate structure suggests two possibilities. Either the moon began as part of Cyberpunk's base game for growing into something much larger, or development started so early that CD Projekt Red hadn't yet decided how this content would eventually be released. The strongest piece of evidence is an unfinished overview map of the moon. Rather than a single mission area, it reveals multiple named districts spread across a completely separate environment. Community estimates suggest it may have been around a quarter of the size of Night City, although that's based on analysis rather than anything officially confirmed. Even so, it's already looking surprisingly ambitious. Several locations stand out. One is labelled Exterior Movie Set. While its purpose remains unknown, the moon is an exclusive destination for the ultra-wealthy in Cyberpunk's universe, suggesting that this area may be linked to brain dances, advertising, or large-scale media productions. Another location is simply called Drug Lab, hinting at entirely different storylines beyond the streets of Night City. Taken as a whole, the map feels far closer to Dogtown than a traditional mission area, suggesting CDPR was experimenting with a substantial off-world location. Exactly how those plans evolved is impossible to say. If the map hints at the moon scale, the environmental screenshots reveal how early development still was. Most of what has been uncovered consists of roughly blockouts rather than finished locations. Lighting is missing, textures are incomplete, and many structures are little more than placeholder geometry. Even so, several fascinating details remain. One partially built ramp appears large enough to support a vehicle. While no moon rover has ever been confirmed, some researchers believe transport across the lunar surface may once have been planned. Given the map size, that certainly seems possible. Floating structures can also be seen above the landscape, although they look out of place. Cyberpunk already stores interior spaces outside the playable world for linking them into missions. If that's what's happening here, these could simply be unfinished interiors waiting to be connected. Those interiors reveal even more. Circular habitats linked by enclosed tunnels suggest permanent lunar settlements rather than temporary outposts. Inside the unfinished labs, communal areas, kitchens, and even living quarters occupied by placeholder NPCs. The missing assets and incomplete furniture make it clear these environments were still deep in production when work came to an end. The moon wasn't the only location hidden inside Cyberpunk's development files. Data miners also uncovered an earlier prototype of the Crystal Palace. This luxurious space station plays a major role in Cyberpunk's lore, but it's never fully explorable in the finished game. One unfinished environment appears to show an earlier Crystal Palace bar, complete with placeholder furniture, incomplete geometry, and numerous missing assets. More interestingly, the files link this location to Quest 201, even though the Crystal Palace never appears as an explorable area during that part of the released game. Whether that's the result of an earlier version of the story, an internal naming change, or content that was later cut is impossible to know. What it does prove is that CDPR wasn't just talking about these locations, they were actively building them. The environment raises even more questions. Its unusually large proportions have led some players to speculate that it may have supported earlier zero-gravity gameplay. However, there's no evidence to confirm that theory, and it could simply be the result of an unfinished build. Large placeholder cubes labeled as missing meshes also suggests many of the original assets have already been removed from the game files, indicating development on the location stopped long before it was complete. Whether it was planned for the base game, a future expansion, or simply abandoned during development, the Crystal Palace is another reminder that Cyberpunk 2077's original ambitions stretch far beyond Night City. The environments tell one side of the story, the quest files tell another. Hidden throughout the Cyberpunk's data are references to alternate quest lines, removed objectives, and entirely different versions of familiar missions. One example is Quest 110, although it still exists in the release game. Unused quest strings reference locations and objectives that never appear during normal gameplay, including Rosalind's Emporium and areas described as farms, jungles, and aquariums. The files also reference several cut characters. Names like Jean and Shiva appear alongside unused dialogue and mission objectives, while other discoveries suggest much larger Voodoo Boy storylines were planned before being rewritten or removed. Although fragments remain in the files, the original roles cannot be fully reconstructed. The cut content doesn't stop there. Dataminers also uncovered references to Monticello, a location connected to Cyberpunk's wider lore, but missing from the final game, alongside additional Padre content that points to earlier versions of Night City's story. Even familiar characters changed during development. River Ward, for example, was originally referred to internally as Subcheck, another small reminder of how much Cyberpunk evolved before release. So was the moon ever meant to be Cyberpunk 2077's second expansion? After launch, Phantom Liberty became the studio's only planned expansion. But that doesn't mean these ideas are gone forever. Game development is full of recycled concepts, locations, and mechanics. With a brand new The Witcher 3 expansion now releasing soon, years after support was thought to be over, CD Projekt Red has already shown they're willing to revisit the unexpected. Whether these ideas return in Cyberpunk Orion or remain hidden in the archives, the moon stands out as one of the biggest what-ifs in Cyberpunk 2077's history. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to subscribe because we got plenty more Cyberpunk investigations on the way. And if you want to uncover even more hidden secrets, cut content, and future Cyberpunk projects, click the video on screen now.